Hey teachers, Brother Judd, and I've got a training here that comes out of James chapter 2. So as we've been studying the New Testament, a lot of what we've been studying so far have been the epistles of Paul. And Paul, in those epistles, he really emphasizes the need for faith and grace. Now, if we're not careful, we can think that, okay, well, Paul, he's had these very big statements about, we are saved by grace and without the needs of the law, and we're saved by faith and all of these things. And if we're not careful, we can take statements like one that comes here out of James chapter 2, and we can overstate the works case if we are not careful. So here in James 2, you can see indeed the title is Faith If It Hath Not Works Is Dead. And it's important to teach this lesson in all of its context. So of course there's this introductory statement about faith and righteous action, inviting students to learn, especially through student preparation. And possible learning activity comes from this quote that we have from Elder Renlund at General Conference. You'll remember Elder Renlund gave this great analogy about lighting a fire. And so you can play the video for your students. The part of the quote that has to do with faith and works is this part here, that striking the match and lighting the kindling are small actions that enable the potential energy of the wood to be released. Until the match is struck, nothing happens regardless of the size of the wood pile. So very similarly, our activation energy of learning to have faith in God and to trust Him is very little compared to the grace that is extended to us through the atonement of Jesus Christ. And so what I wanted to make sure to emphasize in all of this discussion is that we don't overemphasize the need for works, and neither do we overemphasize the need for grace. It's not that you pick one team or the other, but it's that we realize the need for faith and works to work in tandem. So asks the students to consider this, and I found that students actually really they quite enjoy working out these seeming discrepancies. Well, is it faith and grace like Paul talk about, or is it works like James talks about? And if we're not careful, we can pit this into a Paul versus James type thing, when in reality what they're talking about is the same thing, that we have faith in Jesus Christ, and that faith is worked out through our works. Even Paul himself, you look at his life, and there were a lot of things that Paul did because of his faith in the grace of Jesus Christ, and he invites all the saints to whom he is writing to do the same. So, also talks about James here. He's using another analogy to teach the importance of faith in Jesus Christ. And this one, I want to open this one up. It's in James 2, verses 14 and 16. And he asks the question, What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he have faith and have not works, can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you will say unto them, Depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? I don't think Paul would disagree with this at all. In fact, there are regular places where Paul asks the saints in Corinth or Ephesus or Thessalonica to go and take care of their fellow Christians. So again, this isn't a faith versus works debate. It's which is more important. It is an explanation that we need both faith and works in our pursuing of being disciples of Jesus Christ. One of my favorite quotes to this end comes from the Christian author C.S. Lewis. He put it this way. He said, regarding the debate about faith and works, it's like asking which blade in a pair of scissors is most important. And of course, the two are working together. Now, one reason why I like Elder Renlund's analogy slightly better is it's really has much more to do with the grace and the atonement of Jesus Christ and the plan of salvation of our Father in heaven than it has to do with the small activation energy on my part of where I choose to trust God and to rely wholly on Him. But still, I hope both the Elder Renlund example and the C.S. Lewis quote about blades and scissors, that makes sense and emphasizes just how important it is that we teach our students that you don't just rely on the one or the other. If you rely on your own works too much, well, then you fall into a kind of a kind of works-based righteousness where you think you can, score enough brownie points to make your way to heaven. If you're relying on grace too much, then it turned into this cheap grace idea where we really don't honor the atonement of Jesus Christ. We just think, well, I can act whatever way I want to because, Jesus has got my back. No, we show our gratitude for the atonement and grace of Jesus Christ by doing what he asks us to. In the Gospels himself, Jesus is recorded as saying, "If ye love me, because of grace and the atonement and the plan of salvation, keep my commandments." And so again, it's not one or the other. And to really teach our students to not be extremists about gospel principles, oh, I'm on team faith or I'm on team works, but we're asked to learn to balance these things and to see how they fit into a united whole. So don't let your students fall into, or even ourselves, to fall into that false battle of, well, is it works or is it faith? Is it Paul's way or is it James' way? Well, it's the Lord's way. And it's God's plan for us, and it's why he uses multiple servants to try to teach us things across multiple scriptures, so that we can understand things as they really are, and we can find that peace and safety and ultimately salvation in the plan of salvation through our Savior and Redeemer, Jesus Christ. Thank you for participating in this training, and I will have another one for you next week. Take care.